This is Anime Ricochet. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Anime Ricochet, the premier anime podcast of the Nerd Blaze. My name is Jeff, and with me, as always, is the biggest fan of fan service. His name is Jacoby, aka Kobe. How are you, Kobe?
I'm doing quite all right, but I feel like that introduction, if this is first-time listeners, it's painting a real negative picture of me here. So
nothing wrong with fan service, Kobe. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I know there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not. I just happen to choose animes that tend to have a bit more fan service than others because I want to see the heart and the depth that those animes can come up with.
Well, speaking of fan service animes that you tend to choose, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about this episode. We're talking about Aokana, Full Rhythm Across the Blue. And if you don't know, quick recap for anyone who's not in the know, this podcast is about sports animes with two guys who know nothing about sports.
We don't know a whole lot. We're generally aware of what sports kind of are from like a distance, but other than that,
we've seen it. We've seen a sport. We've played a ball time before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're well cultured.
So yeah, let's just get into it then. Aokana, Full Rhythm Across the Blue is an anime based off of an adult visual novel developed by Sprite, the soda, and released for Windows on November 28th, 2014. Kobe, do you know what an adult visual novel is?
Please enlighten me of what an adult visual novel is.
It's basically a video game with lots of static images, a lot of reading. It's just like a plot and character-driven interactive story, essentially. And an adult visual novel, in particular, has hentai.
Or romance is another lighter term for it. It's love. It's about searching for love in this chaotic, war-torn world that we live in. These provide an outlet.
Okay.
By
sure,
Sprite.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sprite, for solving this.
Yes, so it's not based off a manga, based off an adult visual novel. But the anime was developed by the anime studio known as Gonzo, and was directed by Fumitoshi Oizaki. And I'm not sure, I didn't see like a list of like well-known works of theirs, but if you look through like the animes that they're known for, or the animes that they've actually directed and stuff, it's all kind of like this anime, basically. It's all like schoolgirls and colorful hair and stuff like that. It's basically this anime's in their wheelhouse.
It is, but you know what? If all their animes are similar to Aokana, then I would want to watch more of their animes. I actually thought this was a good story.
Of course you would. Of course you would, Kobe.
That's painting it. This is
Okay. Anyways, the anime was released on January 12th, 2016, and ran until March 29th, 2016. We're going to be talking about all 12 episodes, and we'll do a non-spoiler section, and then we'll tell you guys when we go into a spoiler section. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to start off by discussing the characters. So Kobe, what did you think about these characters?
I thought these characters, I'll admit, started off pretty one note. There was not a lot to them. They were stereotypes. Because this was an adult visual novel, it seemed like each of them was filling like a role like that you could pick as your lead, basically. And they didn't have much personality or depth besides a lot of the fan servicey moments. You know, there's the preppy protagonist. There's the beautiful co-lead, basically, who's kind of a badass and like tough. There's the slave to that co-lead. There's more innocent other characters around it. So I think at first these characters started off as not really interesting, but I actually felt over the course of these 12 episodes, they actually grew to be mostly, for the most part, kind of engaging. And I liked where they went. So I can't fault the anime for actually trying to develop at least most of these characters in interesting ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd say for me personally, they were definitely serviceable. It's noteworthy that they tried. There is an effort that you could see. They weren't just little girls with high-pitched voices, terrible comedy, but there is that, and I don't know that I just generally don't like shows like this.
Yeah.
But I will admit that there was an effort to make these characters more than what they just appeared. However
That's true.
brief or little that they actually did. So
Yeah, and it's like it's funny. The show starts off with the main girl is like very preppy, right? Asuka is the main character of the show, is the protagonist, and she's bright and she's peppy and she's kind of paired against.
She's got pink hair.
She's got pink hair. She's wild, and her kind of foil, I guess, starts off as her name is Misaki Tobisawa. Sorry, Misaki Tobisawa, and she's kind of portrayed when you first see her as kind of like this dour, this kind of mean, kind of just harsh, mellowed individual. And then it's funny. I was like, okay, this is a contrast of characters. But then as that episode goes on and you figure out Misaki is just hungry, but as soon as she gets food in her, she turns into like the same type of preppy schoolgirl that Asuka is. I was like, damn it.
They're all preppy schoolgirls, except for the only, I think, non-preppy schoolgirl is one of the antagonists, actually, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But basically, that girl literally has no personality. So it's like either you have like
two ends of the spectrum.
Preppy school, yeah, exactly, both ends of the spectrum. But okay, let's talk a little bit about Asuka. So she's the main character. She's like you said, very preppy, enthusiastic, and I don't know if like Mary Sue is like the right way to describe her. I know that word's kind of thrown around a lot, but like she's supposed to be like brand new to the sport in this anime, which is Flying Circus, and we'll talk a little bit about what Flying Circus is, but essentially she's brand new to the sport. Actually, no, she's brand new to the main mechanic of the sport, which is floating around in gravity boots.
Yeah.
But she's able to pull off like this crazy move, this crazy super powerful move in like her first ever Flying Circus match. And then after that, she basically surpasses everyone else who's been supposedly been doing this for years. So she's just, I don't know. Is that Mary Sue? Is that a fair thing to say?
That's Mary Sue. She has that, like that wide-eyed enthusiasm, but that's the basics of all these kind of anime protagonists who start off as like this preppy and all of a sudden unlock this kind of hidden move that's better than everybody else. But like that's like the point of all of these, is that it's because of their optimism and enthusiasm and their kind of determination to always be positive and to like work hard, even when they don't really know it. That's why when she suddenly discovers she can do this move that hasn't been done before, or it's only the mark of a really distinguished player, it like fits, because those types of characters can always do that sort of thing. Those types of characters warrant that type of ultimate end behavior.
But the only thing is, though, is like I feel like every other anime that we've reviewed that has a protagonist with like a special crazy ability, they've at least been shown to have some history with the sport. I think this is actually probably the first sports anime we've reviewed where the main character is like just brand spanking new to the sport.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone else was sort of, maybe they were new-ish, but they had some history with it to warrant some kind of special ability, or at least there was like a reasoning for it. Like Keijo, for example. So Keijo, another fan servicey anime, but I like that one more than this one. That girl, the main character in that one. Anyways, the main character in that, we'll talk about it. The main character in that one, she had like a special vacuum butt cannon move, which came out of nowhere, but it was like, oh, she did gymnastics before. So it's like, okay, I give you that one. But this one, it's literally just, she's brand new, has no experience, and she's struggling with like the core mechanic of the sport, and yet she's able to pull off the super ultimate move. And I just think that's,
but it's not
unreasonable.
even that super ultimate of a move. It's a move that sure is tricky and stuff, but that doesn't mean she's automatically great at it or has a knack for it. She has the heart and she has the passion. That's like the basics of this main character. That's what you need. That's what you want in a sports anime. Someone who's enthusiastic toward what they're doing. I mean,
yeah,
sure.
I'm cool with that. It's just I'm cool with her being full of heart and enthusiasm. I'm not cool with her being already pulling off this move that's supposed to be like this special impressive move.
Okay.
In her first match, even when she did, like, floating around in gravity boots in this anime is the equivalent to walking or running in like a sport. So if someone was like a baby or something and they didn't know how to walk, and then suddenly they're like dunking on people in basketball, that wouldn't make any sense. I feel like it's kind of like that. But
you wouldn't watch that? I'd watch the shit out of a baby all of a sudden learning he can dunk. That'd be the best thing ever. That'd be right up there with Air Bud. And then you have a spinoff.
I'll give you that one, but this
Air
is not
Baby.
a baby. This is not a baby learning how to dunk. This is
Okay.
gravity boots and shit.
That is
All right, anyways.
okay, that is her problem, and I understand that. And what I will say about her character is that she, to me, even though she's the protagonist, she is the least interesting character in the show.
Definitely, for sure.
I
And
think
that seems to be the case. Well, I don't know if that's the case in a lot of shows or a lot of animes. Maybe it is. I don't know. You've seen a lot of stuff. You've seen more than me. You think that's usually the case where the side character or the villain usually takes the show?
It depends on
Movies,
the side
TV
characters.
shows.
Yeah, overall, it does the side characters and the villains usually can trump the protagonist. So the protagonist has to be good, has to follow a
Has to be
certain arc.
safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
even though it's because the show overall, I think, doesn't do a whole lot with her character. It actually, what surprised me, the first surprise of this anime is its willingness to kind of introduce this main character, but then kind of fade her back into the background to kind of focus on more of the other characters to flesh them out, to where in the middle it's like I wasn't even really sure she was the main character, and it could be argued that she's not because she's really only important in
That's true.
first 3 episodes and then the final episode, but like other than that it's everybody else's show.
Yeah, that's true. Her purpose is basically just to be the person that is really good at the sport and beats everyone and inspires everyone, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
And then everyone else has, like,
anime.
more
You need someone to inspire, to kind of to help be a glue, basically, because she's the one who leads all these other characters back into it.
Yeah, I guess so. I just we'll talk a little bit more about it, but like I just feel like Asuka probably wasn't. What do I say? She definitely has her like failures. Like she doesn't exactly win every single game, but when she loses, and I understand this is probably the point of her character. When she loses, she's still like she's got a smile on her face. She's all upbeat and enthusiastic. She smiles in the face of adversity, and that's that's fine. That's her point. It's just to me that's not compelling. That's not relatable. Does that make sense? Like I get it.
That makes
like,
sense.
When people lose, I want to feel what they would feel. They would probably feel downtrodden and like shitty. And there is a character that provides that, which I'm appreciative of.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can go into that character, unless you have anything else to talk about with Asuka.
No, we can move on. We can move on from her.
So Misaki Tobisawa, she's the one I feel like has is challenged a little bit more in the series, and therefore is a little more interesting.
She has a real arc across all 12 episodes. She's like the only one with one.
And she's also relatable in the sense that she has trouble getting up in the morning. She can't function in the morning until she gets food. And she loves udon. Who doesn't love udon? Udon's so good. That's the best part of this anime is the udon.
Well,
Like,
okay,
just looking at
food
that
is the best
udon.
part of any anime because they always
That's true.
animate it to look fucking delicious.
Anime food? I wish real food looked like anime food. What is it with anime food? Man, so good. All right. Anyways, Misaki, like you said, in the beginning, she seemed like she's the foil to Asuka because she was, like you said, kind of a cold character, not as enthusiastic. So I feel like that's a trope at this point. You need to have two main characters. One of them has to be really enthusiastic, and the other one has to be like really blunt and not as preppy,
you gotta
basically.
have conflict. You have to have differing personalities.
You got a contrast between the two characters. But like you said, we learned pretty early on that Misaki isn't actually like that. She was just tired, and then when she gets food, she becomes I wouldn't say like she does become more preppy, but in her own little way. She's also very independent, does things the way she wants to. And like I said, has her own little arc throughout the full 12 episodes.
She does, because she becomes more invested into the sport of flying circus, and we find out that she has a real knack for it, and she was really good at it, but she's really the exact opposite of Asuka because she quit at the first time because it just stopped being fun to her. Like she didn't have any motivation to really keep going, even though she was really good.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I think people can relate to. Is just the idea that because part of her character also is she was afraid of investing so heavily into something.
Yeah.
when maybe it's not going to go anywhere, or maybe she's not as good as she thinks she is, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I really felt her emotions going through that. And yeah, overall, I'm glad that they tried with this character. There's another character that they try with, at least briefly. Her name is Mashiro Arisaka. I like to call her Slave Girl. I think you called her Slave Girl earlier as well.
I did.
Yeah, because that she's a self-proclaimed. She calls herself a slave to Misaki. So, okay, here you go first. What do you think about Mashiro?
That again,
Mashiro Arisaka.
It was one of the, it was I said that there was a lot of times this anime kind of surprised me, and with her character, it was really that was another case of it, because she starts off as like the most annoying character. She starts off as the trope of just always waiting on Misaki. She has a really annoying voice, and she just whines and complains and just follows Misaki to do everything. So I thought she was going to be really one note throughout the entire anime. She wasn't going to grow, and she was just going to be kind of the comic relief character in that. But then it's surprising that by the fourth episode, the show pivots and actually does like a really interesting and in my opinion, it's like the best episode, like just solely devoted to her. Like it's almost completely her, which is just fascinating for any anime with like this large ensemble to suddenly divert your character to like your seemingly third tier character. But that's why I wish the show kind of they did develop her character more after that pivotal fourth episode, but they just didn't follow through in a way that left me feeling satisfied. But they still did enough to actually make a really interesting self-contained growth arc in just one episode. So that's why she didn't necessarily have to grow a lot like for the rest of the time, because she already completed her arc in 21 minutes. So I grew into a fan of Mashiro a lot.
Yeah, so Mashiro is definitely the most annoying character in this anime, and I think she's even still annoying after the fourth episode. I think that you're right, the fourth episode was really strong, and I was very surprised that they actually did something with her other than just being comic relief, because I felt like that was all she was comic relief. And in the end, I still think really that's all she was, because I don't think I saw any development in her character other than the fourth episode. And really, the fourth episode was basically about her and how she felt like she was being left behind by the other team members. So she had to step it up. She had to like learn more outside of team practice. And so she gets someone to teach her the basics, which I think is really cool. Like just the concept of like getting your basics down pat is important for like any sport.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But then after that, I still think she was basically just comic relief. Yeah. I wish they would have maybe done. I mean, really, 12 episodes, you can't really do much. So I guess I'm grateful that they even did something with her. So that's notable for sure. But she's still annoying. I don't like her.
But it's like it did have an interesting arc. She's pulled into the sport of flying circus because just Misaki joins, and Mashiro wants to follow anything Misaki does. But then all of a sudden, Masaki's really good, and then she notices Asuka's really good, and then she notices all of her teammates are really good, and then she's like, "Well, crap, I'm not very good at this. I kind of want to give up." But then, she kind of, with help from another one of the characters, she kind of finds more motivation to work hard at it and just practice. And as you said, it's really cool that she got her basics down. So, yeah, but I think that's okay that like the show wanted to get her arc out of the way to at least develop her at least a little bit before putting her back to the sideways, because then knowing that about her at least makes her a more interesting character, even when the show doesn't do much with her near the end. At least knowing her background and knowing, when she says hi to another character who she develops a relationship with, Rika, just saying hi to her later on or rooting for Rika in a final match is I think carries weight because of everything that came before, because of the fourth episode where we kind of learn that. So that's why I didn't find her that annoying, but I admit that she was annoying, yes.
Yeah, I just don't. I think one of the biggest things about this anime that I don't like is the humor. Okay, I don't know how to explain it. I just think this isn't for me. Like the characters, the little girls with the shrilly voices, and the whole slave girl thing, and their attempts at making her funny, like senpai, notice me, that kind of thing. It's a lot. There's just moments of that, and I just groan whenever it happens, and and there are some fan service moments where it's like, oh, what was the point of this? There's literally no point of this. I'm not against fan service, but it's like sometimes I think it's just cheap. Like I like it most when it's maybe like tongue in cheek, or maybe when it's done a little bit tastefully, you know.
Would you have liked it more if it was a bit if it leaned one way or the other? Like obviously you would have liked it more if there wasn't a lot of fan service, or not done taste, or if it was like a kind of a more serious character driven drama, or it was just completely accepting of its fan service nature. Because I think one of the weird things about the show is that it kind of does both. It tries to be both. It's like both really fan servicey. It has one of the main characters walk in on a girl in her underwear twice in 2 episodes for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's one of the moments I was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so weird that they do that, but then it also tries to actually develop its characters, and that kind of creates a discord. At least for me, because like if it was one or the other, then it could have been better. Like if it steered completely into the fan service thing and like played with that and tried to bounce off that, would you have liked it more?
I think so. And again, I'm going to reference Keijo, because Keijo was an anime where it just embraced its fan serviceness. It was dripping with it, and it was part of the moves. It was part of, like, literally there's a vacuum butt cannon attack. There's an attack where like you hypnotize someone with your titties and it's like a forbidden move. It's just like that I can get. I think you make a really good point. You're right. It does sort of teeter because it deals with not like mature themes, but like themes that are like, you know, realistic, like date, like things that you can reasonably relate to. But then it also dips into the fan servicey stuff. So yeah, I think you're right. I think if it leans one way, I probably would have accepted it more. But also, I don't know, like fan service with like little girls, it just makes me feel weird. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get it.
I feel like the FBI is gonna like fucking knock down my door any second. It's like, the Japanese are weird, man.
So then let's move into like one of the final main character, who it's funny how he's the last one we talk about, even though he kind of should be. He's one of the co-leads, I guess, so to speak. Masaya Hinata. He's the male lead of the school. He kind of becomes the coach to these
related to Shoyo Hinata of Haikyuu fame.
Yes. I could see that. They both. That'd be weird Thanksgiving dinner. But he is a character that I think had a lot of potential, but then, and there was like moments where they tried to do some stuff with him, but then it just didn't go anywhere. It didn't pay off in a satisfying way. He's like, if Asuka's the most boring character, if Asuka's the most annoying character, then Masaya is the most boring, because I don't think they do much with him.
Yeah, I thought, so I think it's pretty clear that Masaya is there to sort of ground everything.
Yeah.
Because he is sort of the straight, serious person. He doesn't really get dragged into a lot of humor. And he's the guy that's like, I don't want to go back to the sport, but I got to.
But I got to. I feel it. I'm just going to help him for a little bit. Now I'm going to help him for longer. Now I got to do all this.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I wish they would have done more with him, because it seemed like they were setting up a lot of stuff with him, with that whole conflict of whether or not he wants to be in the sport or not. But also they keep hinting at like this past that he has, and there's like some kind of incidents, and they do get into it, but it's done in such a what's the word? It's sort of his reveal about his past is treated as if he was a side character, which up to that point I thought he was supposed to be a main character, but the way they explain it just sort of resolves it offhandedly in a way that you would think would come from someone that would be of a lesser character than he is, which I guess maybe that's because he's not really a main character, which is weird because he's the second character we're introduced to.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was going to be more interesting, but he is interesting in that like him and Misaki actually have a cool moment because their history is kind of parallel. Mm-hmm. They both sort of loved the sport, and then they had a moment, and then they ended up doubting whether they liked it, and then they came back. That's kind of that's how they relate to each other, and they have an episode where they get to talk about that. So that's kind of interesting. But beyond that,
And that's like an overall general note about these characters is that I kind of like, even though we may not relate to them a whole lot, they at least relate to each other. Like each one of them is like going through something that in part the other characters are going through as well, or had gone through in the past. So they either see themselves in other people, or they see other characters struggling with the same thing and want to help, which kind of creates this nice connective web between all the characters. They aren't just personas adrift separately out there with like no connection at all. They actually are intertwined in a way where they can help each other because their pasts are similar yet different enough to make them stand on their own, but similar enough to be like when they give advice to one another, it makes sense for where they're coming from because they also experience those things. And is that sort of kind of the background and stuff, like with Messiah and Misaki. Both of them go through kind of parallel tracks, parallel arcs, but like at different timelines, basically at different points in their life. But they're both of them are able to kind of inspire one another in the way that they see themselves in another, like going through the same thing. That it kind of allows them to kind of, I don't know, pump back up and like complete their arc. So these characters need each other, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean I really only feel that with Misaki and Messiah. Was there a connection between like Mashiro and the other
Rika.
ones?
Mashiro and Rika, yes, I would say absolutely. And then
which one is Rika?
Rika is the pink-haired girl from the other school.
Was she the one that trained her?
Yeah, she's the one who trained her, and then she kind of developed a friendship. And is because Rika also felt not very good on her own team. She felt like the least talented part of all of her other team. Okay. So that's why Rika kind of took Mashiro under her belt to kind of help train her, and that's okay. That's what inspired Rika. I mean, Mashiro to kind of be better. Right.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, yeah, those are all the characters. Anything else you want to say about them? I mean, those are like the main ones.
The main characters. We'll go into
like a bigger cast.
Yeah, I think when we talk about kind of like the antagonist section, which we'll talk about just a little later, we can go into more about some of the other ones.
Right. So overall, I appreciate the effort put into these characters. It could have just been one note, all one girls with high pitched voices obnoxiously flailing around, but they actually attempted to put some depth into it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I dug these characters. I think I dug them a little more than you did, but I think we're on the same page of what we wanted from them.
Yeah, like I still by the end didn't really give a shit about any of them, but there was an effort made. So congrats, I like that.
So let's pivot to the next topic, which is talking about the sport itself. The sport itself is called Flying Circus, and I like animes that kind of delve into like kind of a wacky sport or just something that's a little different than just something normal like volleyball or ping pong or something that's already established. I like when an effort is made to create something a little new, and I think Flying Circus it's both the most like blown out. I guess Keijo is the most blown out and over exaggerated one. But I think Keijo exists in its own little separate universe of weirdness. What I like about this one is it's the sport. The idea behind the sport is pretty complex. There's a lot of strategy and moves to it, but like the fundamental basics are really simple. Like the sport involves gravity boots. This is a world overall where gravity boots have been invented, and everyone has not everyone has access to them. This island kind of has free access to them whenever they want. And of course, when you have these things, you'll start doing new things with them, where a new sport was developed, and they named it Flying Circus. And the basic of the sport is very simple. You're flying up in the air with your gravity boots. You're up against one other person, and you're trying to either race to buoys and touch one of the 4 buoys to score points, or you're trying to attack your opponent's back, and that will also get you a point. So that's the fundamentals of the sport, and that's really all there is to it. But there's also more strategy and kind of more things to think about while playing this sport, like with all the moves and how to play the game, that I think kind of makes it interesting. But yeah, what do you think about Flying Circus?
Yeah, I think you and I differ in that I prefer animes based on like real sports, and the reason I like that is because when you have a show about these sports that have been around for so long, for years and decades, you have a lot of material to make the matches interesting because you have a lot of different tactics, a lot of different moves, a lot of different strategies,
Yeah.
a lot of different play styles that you can incorporate into the show to make it more interesting to watch. That being said, yeah, the sport is very simple. It's a fictional sport, but I was surprised at how much depth there was to it. I mean, there wasn't, I guess, not much depth, but there was like different play styles.
Yeah.
There was an element of creative strategy, and because it's like a flying sport, they incorporate a lot of flying maneuvers, which made it interesting. And also, it's just pretty to watch because when they're flying around, zipping around in their grav boots, there's like colorful contrails that basically trail behind them. So a lot of times there'll be a shot in this anime where it pans out and you just see the two players off in the distance zooming around each other, and it's just like a bunch of colorful lines zooming and zipping around each other. And I think it's pretty cool. For a fictional sport, I think it does a pretty good job of having not just people. It wasn't about like who was the strongest or who was the fastest. It tried to incorporate like some kind of strategic thinking in terms of what to do and how to do it and stuff like that. And I applaud it for that. I mean, at the end, a lot of it is speed.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big component is how fast you fly, but there was still some, like, for example, like instead of just flying past someone, maybe you zigzag around them so that they don't touch your back, because that's one way to score a point is to touch the opponent's back.
Right.
Overall, I think the sport was interesting. I think the matches were pretty interesting to watch. I think that's probably my favorite part of this anime was just watching two of these characters go off against each other and try different things.
Yeah, they made it really pretty. Overall, sport solid.
Solid. In terms of the antagonists, the people that they go up against, there is of course, a rival team, and there is, of course, a couple of big bads that they face off against. And overall, I would say the last big bad kind of pales in comparison to the first big bad. I'm talking about I forgot his name. He's like the purple haired dude, and then the other
Kazunari Shindo is his name.
Yeah, so he's kind of the first big. He's like the first boss that they have to beat. And I liked him because he actually had personality, and he's sort of stereotypical in that he's sort of cool and posh and confident. But what I liked was that at one point during the match, he kind of loses all that, and he kind of like gets more into it. He gets like he puts a little bit more emotion into his playstyle, and I generally like it when like the person with a cool demeanor like breaks, turns it up a notch. Yeah, like breaks and like maybe gets a little more intense. So that's what I like from him. And he also is humanized a bit. Like after the match, we get to see him outside of the match, like who he is outside of the sport. And there's some conversations there, and we get to learn a little bit more about who he actually is beyond just the person who's like really good at the sport. And I think that was really good.
Yeah, I totally agree with his character. This show does follow what I call the Rocky effect, where it's like you introduce kind of a villain right away, but then over time you kind of make that villain into your villains at first because you're so similar, but then they're just better than you. But then you kind of learn that you're not so different, and then you kind of learn about one another more, and then they ultimately help you defeat an ultimately bigger bad guy, which was nice. I agree that Shindo and that whole team was more interesting than the ultimate big bad, but I think it made sense on like a level aspect, where you get for like the trajectory of Flying Circus is like you face characters who are just better than you, and who have trained more and who know more about the sport. Yeah, and that takes up like kind of the first arc of it, and the final arc is facing somebody who just transcends the sport, who doesn't understand the sport, who makes the sport something completely different than it is, who's trying to redefine everything that Flying Circus is about. That's a lofty goal to do in just 12 episodes, and I don't think the show really does succeed in doing that and making it convincing, but that's what I saw it as. That's like what they were trying to do, and I can respect that. And I think to me, it was good enough to be enjoyable and for me to like it.
Yeah, I mean, my main problem with the final big bad was that she just didn't have any personality. Like, I guess that was on purpose. Obviously, she's supposed to be like this sort of robotic person whose only purpose is to become perfect at this sport and to like turn it into something that it's traditionally not. But it's kind of the same thing. We always go back to Haikyuu. I think it's just because it's a really good example and something we've reviewed recently. But like let's say, to avoid spoilers, there's like two main villains, quote unquote villains, in the show, and the final villain is kind of like the final villain on this show, where they're just like a monster. It's like really good, but have no personality. And it would have been better if the other villain would have been the final villain, because that person actually has a personality and actually has it's just more fun to watch, you know?
I wonder if that's always going to be what it is with these animes, because that's just a normal story to begin with. And that seems to be a common recurrence for mostly every anime that we've kind of watched, in the sense, or at least that at least enough of it has happened to be like, this is clearly a pattern. This is clearly the type of thing. Even like
That's true.
Yeah, so it's like
ping pong, yeah.
Yeah,
ping pong. You're gonna say ping pong, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say ping pong. It's like it's a little different in ping pong. But
yeah.
But it's just it tweaks it enough to be, which is what makes ping pong a really fantastic anime. I imagine if we watched ping pong after watching a bunch of the animes that we've watched now, we would like ping pong even more for the way it diverts all the normal tropes we've been seeing in almost every single one. But it's still following a certain structure that seems like all these animes, all these sports animes, are kind of following, which is fascinating.
That is really interesting. It is fascinating. It's interesting to see these patterns emerge across all these sports animes. It's like you gotta have two contrasting main characters. Their first villain is going to be someone who is more entertaining and has a personality, but then their last villain is going to be someone who's going to be like super good but has no personality, and maybe their personality emerges after facing a worthy opponent, which is of course going to be brought about from the main character, and yada yada yada. There's you know what, there's got to be a training camp episode.
Always a training camp. I judge an anime specifically based on what episode the training camp happens. There's been one in like almost every single anime. Has there been one? No, there's always been a training camp.
Yep. And at the end, usually there's barbecue with meat.
People in animes go crazy over barbecue. Like, oh my god! Like, do they not eat meat like normally? Like, is it barbecue?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, we got.
No, I actually think that's actually how it. Like in Japan, I don't think they eat red meat very often. So like whenever they have a barbecue with like red meat, it's like a big ass deal, because they don't usually. It's like I don't know if it's like a luxury is kind of like the way to put it, but like it's something that's to be appreciated because you don't eat it often. Because like, don't they usually eat like rice, vegetables, and fish, and soy,
and udon?
So, and udon, noodles. But yeah, no, these sports animes follow a pattern, it seems.
Yeah, and this one does. So I guess overall with the antagonist, it's the same thing. Shindo is interesting. I wish they stuck with him more. He again falls by the wayside near the end, like a lot of these characters do, and then kind of makes way for a villain who is interesting. I just want a little more out of. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the antagonist.
Yeah, and I think it'd be reasonable to compare it to Ping Pong, because there is that same villain who's just very, very good and lacks emotion. But with that character, the way they tackled it with that character was there was like this sense of like pain in that character, and they actually delve into him a bit more. We get some more screen time, we get to spend a little more time with him, so we can kind of at least understand why he is the way he is.
Yeah, I
think when you have an anime that has character like this unstoppable force with no personality, if we don't know anything about them, it's just a flat character in the end, right? Totally. So but yeah, I mean, I guess couldn't really ask much from this. Overall, these antagonists did raise the stakes and did have some pretty epic showdowns, which I appreciate. So yeah,
which kind of leads us into the next category, which is the animation itself of the show. It's like it really there's nothing special about it. There's nothing like different. Like if you watch this anime, it'll look very similar to like a lot of other animes. unlike a lot of our previous ones, which kind of have a unique style to them. But it's at least pretty enough and well animated enough to make it visually engaging. To me, it makes it.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing. It doesn't do anything particularly well, and it's not bad. It's sort of your standard fare, I guess. I mean, to my untrained eye, at least. I mean, the only really thing I could comment on is that it has a lot of bright colors, which sort of complements the overall cheery, positive mood and atmosphere of this anime.
Yeah.
So yeah. In terms of the soundtrack, I actually think the soundtrack can be pretty catchy. Like when you're actually going during the matches, like there's some beats in there that I'm like, oh yeah, this is elevating this match to feel more intense and more exciting. But there's this one soundtrack that I hate, and it's always during a comedic scene.
Yeah.
And I just hate it. I don't know. I don't know how it goes. It goes like, what kind of instruments do they play in that one? Anyways, it's like supposed to be like a goofy, like topsy-turvy tone, and I feel like it's kind of like music injected in there to make it seem more funny. Like I think that's kind of what I hate about shows in general, is when they inject something into a joke or a comedic scene to trick us into thinking it might be funny. I guess like a laugh track would be an example of that too. And I mean, laugh tracks are like kind of like a staple, and sometimes they work, but like I don't know, I prefer no laugh track, jokes to stand on their own, that kind of thing. And that's sort of how I feel about this one particular song.
That's true. Yeah, this soundtrack to me, it's like I finished the show relatively quickly because I enjoyed it. I powered through the show because overall I generally like this show and I dig it a lot. To be honest, but even though I'm like bashing on it and pointing out all of its flaws, I can't remember really any big defining moment of the soundtrack. Like I'll always like, even if I would prefer if a show has a soundtrack that's completely overblown, because then I'll at least remember it. Like I'll remember Chihara Foru season 1, and I'll remember even Prince of Stride from which is an anime that we read.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that you gotta show me. You gotta show me. Yeah, it's ridiculous, true. But I can't really remember any of the sounds from it now. So if you're only watching anime for soundtracks, which is, hey, all the power to you. This is not the anime for you, but hopefully there's some other stuff in it that you'll like.
Yeah, I mean, having said that I like it, that's a good point, because I actually don't remember any of the songs from it. But except for that one song that I hate. It goes like, da, 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 da. Wait, no, now I'm thinking of a different song. No, it's playing in my head, I swear. It's playing in my head. If I could just transfer the soundtrack in my head to the audio stream, then, I mean, I guess I could do that in the editing, but I'm just going to leave it to the imagination if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, soundtrack, to me, overall good. To you, unmemorable. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then the plot structure and the themes. So
we've touched upon the plot, I guess, pretty much. But the themes,
there's nothing really more to add to it.
Yeah, but the themes itself of the show, I think it's just clearly an anime about inspiring other people, which is like what a lot of these sports animes is, because Asuka really is a catalyst of change for a lot of is inspiring other people to have fun with the sport. Because having fun with the sport is the most important thing. And I'll be honest with you, like as we started watching sports animes at the beginning of this podcast, I honestly thought that was an anomaly, that the theme of having fun is important for just in the Japanese lifestyle and Japanese animes itself, that wouldn't have much of an emphasis as like working hard and ultimately succeeding your goal because of your determination. But it seems like a lot of these animes actually have the theme of be sure you're having fun what you do, because if you're having fun, then that's what's important. And then having fun changes everything. Having fun makes a loss better. Having fun helps inspire everyone around you. Having fun is just the cornerstone for every sport you play and for everything you do in life.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty much the theme of the song, is have fun. And also I think, just be positive even in the face of adversity. Even when you lose, you can still have fun even when you lose, which is very embodied by Asuka and very much dealt with the other characters and them learning to basically do that, learning that losing doesn't mean that it's not fun. You can keep playing it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's what all these characters, even the ultimate villain kind of sees Asuka and like notices how much fun she's having, and then tries to to start having fun herself.
Yeah. Yeah, so now we shall go into the spoiler section.
Spoilers, everyone. Yes, which is basically, I think this section is just great because we could talk about the things that didn't make sense, like the biggest moment that didn't make sense, and our favorite moments, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so spoiler starting now. Kobe, is there anything you wanted to kick off with? I can't really think of anything in particular.
Yeah, there's the two elements that I wanted to save for the spoiler section. One is that I really liked, my favorite part about the show is my most favorite and my least favorite part is Messiah's backstory, because what I like what this show does, it actually makes Messiah very important to a good majority of these characters in the past. Oh, at least not say good majority, but to at least important to Asuka by and important to Shindo. But the show never directly acknowledges it. Like Asuka has a memory about the first time she came to this island and she met a boy, and then that boy kind of inspired her to actually, to be the person that she is. And it's clearly
is that him?
That is Hinata.
Messiah?
It's
Okay.
like the only one. See, and that's why the show never directly confirms that it's him. But it's like the way that it was cut, it was like he has the green eyes, and he's like the only guy character that you see with like those bright green eyes. But it never has a scene confirming it, which is cool. And it's same with Shindo. Shindo, when he's first talking to Messiah, he's talking about how he entered the game. It's clearly Messiah knows who he is. I think it's clearly that Shindo, I think, knows who he is. I think he was messing with him, or not messing with him, but at least speaking how characters do in television shows. Like, I knew a guy once. He was really good in it, and then he quit, and then I'm waiting for that person to come back. But then they never have another conversation, like the two of them, to actually acknowledge that the character that he was referring to was Messiah himself.
Yeah.
Which is, I like that about it. But then on the flip side, Messiah's finally return to the sport is my least favorite part of it, because at the end of his arc, he kind of comes back and he's like, I realize the only way I can help my team is by training with them. But then nothing comes from that. There's a big dramatic moment where he dons his suit again and he goes up and he like helps them, and he does help them train. But then those lessons that whatever he teaches them in the air aren't really directly referenced in the finale. Like, there's no move that she does that he taught him only in the air, and there's no other instance of him suiting up. So I thought they dropped the ball on that when that could have been really cool, but at least his backstory itself and the way the show incorporated it was my favorite part of it. Does that make any sense?
No, I that makes complete sense, perfect sense, and that's a good point, because I remember watching that scene with Asuka with her flashback when she was with that kid, and I didn't know that I was actually Messiah, because like you said, they didn't confirm it. I was like, this guy looks just like that other kid. Is it the same kid? And then I was like, whatever, because they never touched on it again.
But who knows? I could be completely wrong. I could be like, it comes like that's clearly not Messiah. Don't be an idiot.
It would be weird that if it wasn't, because then, would it be weird? Because then it would just be some random person.
Yeah.
That she was inspired by, which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. But if it's true that it is Messiah, then it is. I think it's weird that they didn't actually acknowledge that, because I think it would have been perfect then if they blended the reveal into him entering the sport again. When he flies up, like you said, there's this big reveal of him practicing with them for the first time. And it's his first time playing in what appears to be years.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool because everyone's there, right? Everyone there that had a history with him is there. Asuka, obviously, and Shindo's there too. Shindo was training with them because
he was,
he was helping them train. And I thought, well, then wouldn't that be a good time to mention or have some kind of scene where it's like, see, it would be cool if Asuka saw Messiah flying and maybe he's teaching her a move as it's happening. And Asuka's like, I remember, this is how the boy that I knew as a kid used to fly. And then maybe Asuka sings that song, that song she keeps singing.
The one that that would have made sense.
Yeah, because that there's a song where like Asuka and this mystery flashback boy who we believe to be Messiah is they're a fan of this mecha anime singing this theme song all the time. So wouldn't it be cool if like Asuka sang them? And that's interesting too, because Asuka doesn't sing that theme song when Messiah's on screen too. So maybe that would,
because then that would maybe given it away.
Maybe that probably adds evidence to your theory that it is him, because if they did, then obviously Messiah would have recognized it, and that would have been a good way to introduce him. But for some reason, the show doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Yeah, you're right. They just fucking dropped the ball that one.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because they were hoping for a second season. Well, this only came out in January 2016, so it's like I might get a second season. I'm not sure. But it seems pretty complete. Like the story they told, I'm pretty done with this anime in a good way. Like I got everything I needed to out of this. I don't need to watch any more matches. I enjoyed this for what it was, and I liked it a lot. But I don't need any more. It felt satisfying enough to be like, I don't need to return to this world.
I completely agree, and which makes it even more weird that they didn't resolve that plot, because Messiah could have been a much more interesting character too, right? Because then it would be revealed that yes, in fact, Messiah is the reason for a lot of you people liking this sport in the first place, or a lot, like two characters, Asuka and Shindo. Yeah, so his past successes having an effect on the present would have been an interesting concept to toy with, and
I would imagine,
and then having them inspire him back to play would be cool. And whatever, it's just a bunch of missed opportunities.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
And even his moment of getting back into it is overshadowed because the teacher also suddenly gets back into it.
Oh yeah, everyone's back.
Everyone's just suddenly flying in goofy outfits.
Yeah,
that's okay. I will admit, even though I like the sport, I think the outfits suck.
Oh, I love the outfits. You didn't like the outfits?
They're like, why do the wave things on the end of their cans? Like, why do they have like such long sleeves?
It's to make it look cool when they fly. Like trailing behind them, So it's all about the aesthetic.
Yeah.
What would you have liked? You would have you would have thought the costumes would look cooler without it.
Yeah, it would have been cool, like sleeves that highlight aerodynamic and to make you faster in the air.
Just sleeker,
like,
basically.
Something like a cool helmet to like stop you from catching a bug in the face and dying.
That's a good point. They should be wearing helmets. Yeah.
Well, I guess there's protective fields around the gravity boots, but I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. There's some weird.
Any other moments that you want to talk about specifically?
I
want to talk about, I guess, sorry,
as
I say, do you have any more moments? And then
I literally have nothing in particular. I don't know. All I can say is I don't like the comedy in this. I don't like the comedy. I don't think the fan service. There was one moment I really laughed at. I laughed at a lot. It's like anything with I like the character of I know you're talking
the
about
coach, like the big bro, the one who's like
the captain. He's the captain of the team.
Yeah, he's like, I will show them, and I will win with spirit, and then immediately cuts to 22-0. He just gets destroyed.
Yeah,
and it's like
I agree that
he was funny. And then his other moment, like on the beach when I wrote down the joke, like he's on the beach. It's like, does anyone have any questions? And like someone turns to him, it's like, you aren't very good, are you? Or it's like, why are you so bad at this? And then he just stares at it for a moment. It's like, anyone else have any questions? Like, he was really funny.
That's fun. Yeah, no, I agree. He was a really funny character. He now that's an example of a character that's purely there for comic relief.
Yeah,
but it works, I guess, because it's obvious that
I will show them with my spirit.
Yeah,
spirit is the answer.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. But yeah, anything other than that? I mean, I can't think of any specific moments
more so
that I wanted to discuss.
There was a real beautiful moment. It's like it shows like it's a brief character moment for Misaki. It's the moment where I like really like this anime. It's after it's because she goes through a really mature arc where she thinks she's really good at this sport again after getting back into it. Shindo completely destroys her, and then she watches a match where Shindo like unleashes his true self. And she has to grapple with the fact that the person who destroyed her wasn't even trying very hard, and like that's deep for an anime. Like that's tough. That's a difficult thing to try to show, like to actually explore in an anime show, especially one with high pitched annoying girls. And then because immediately after Asuka lands and all of her teammates run to her and Misaki is left standing alone. Like that's that's a good shot. Like the way they do that, it's like wow. That's really impactful to me. That's a moment that got me, and that's when, that's when that's when this anime turned into something that I actually really enjoyed. So that moment I just thought deserved a special shout out.
No, I agree. That was part of her whole arc about accepting defeat and
Mhm.
whether or not she actually liked it. I guess the other thing I want to talk about too is a little bit more about Shindo.
Yeah.
Was that like when when we get to see Shindo outside of the match, I thought it was really a cool moment to see Misaki and Shindo meet up on that rainy day in that bus stop,
Yeah.
because Misaki,
Oh yeah.
Shindo was the one, he was the one that beat her without even trying, and Misaki is looking for advice from him, which I thought was just like super appropriate. Like what a cool moment to explore and to see what they're thinking about. And basically Shindo's philosophy is like yeah, I mean, you know what, even though I lost, like I'm at a point where it's still really exciting, and we're at a point where the sport is changing and it's exciting to be a part of that. And then Misaki's like, I don't know if I want into that. So you
Yeah.
could see contrasting opinions on the sport, which I thought was pretty good.
And I thought that was a great moment too, because then it totally diverts, because like in any other anime you would have, there's those two have a talk and then everything would be okay. But then, and then it would inspire her, but then immediately afterwards it goes the opposite way. She quits. Like she quits the club specifically after that conversation. And that surprised me. I was like, "Oh, I thought she was going to be better. Like that was going to be."
Me too.
Yeah, and it's like, nope, she goes the complete opposite and doubles down on this isn't for me, which was, I thought, well done in the context of at least ideas for the show's structure. It's like, wow, okay, this is interesting. I'm actually curious on what her character actually ends up and like how she's going to come back to the sport.
Yeah. And it's also just smart as well, because if it did go that way, it wouldn't be satisfying, because it makes more sense for Misaki to come back to the sport because of her teammates instead of her opponent. Like, but and it, I just thought that was just a really good moment. And then Misaki becomes her mentor. It's like just a really cool Mashindo becomes Misaki's mentor, because Misaki comes back to him and says, "Hey, can you train me? I want to get better." And
this is an anime about characters wanting to get better and learning to like not be afraid to like ask for help for people, or like to actually,
that's true,
for other people being and other people being okay with the fact that they want to show other people so that they don't repeat their own mistakes that they suffer themselves. That's complex for an anime that started off, again, the first 2 episodes, the main guy character peeking in on a girl in her underwear who I had no idea who it was. I had to look up after the anime to confirm that was Rika. Like, because I just...
Yeah, the one that trained.
Yeah, I was like, what is the
Mashiro.
point of that? Because it's not addressed. I don't know if I missed it, but again, it evolved. And it tried to explore some really deep stuff and some actually character-driven storylines, which made this a really good anime for me.
I agree, and I wonder if like they had to add these fan servicey parts.
Absolutely,
because it was sort of expected to. You know what I mean?
100%. That's how you get any
it
show.
Seems like it was.
But look at any Netflix show, like even now in here, like any Netflix show, the first episode is most likely going to have a sex scene in it, in like an original series that they have. The first episode is going to have a sex scene because it wants to get you kind of hooked. It's like,
it's hooked. Yeah.
That's so I understand why that fan.
I hope there's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have to try to balance both, and I'm trying to. There wasn't really huge fan servicey moments near the end. Like the first part of the show started with the underwear reveal. And then, but also it had them in a bathhouse, like, so it's like mostly naked a lot of the time. Like, for the first 3 episodes.
That was and that was all in the span of the first 3 episodes too. Yeah, and it was the 4th episode where it kind of turned around and seemed to it still had some like fan servicey shots, like there's a part where like I think Asuka is unzipped by Misaki, and you can kind of see like some side boob, but or like maybe like a close up of like.
A butt shot while they're flying, or something.
A butt shot, or while they're stretching, or something like that.
But overall, it's like you could tell. It's like it seemed like they tried to divert it, even though this was based off an adult visual novel, where where again, this is the second anime in a row that was based off something romantic, but then didn't have any romance in it.
That's true. Weird.
Yeah.
Where do you keep picking these, Kobe?
Hey, you know what? And for Princess Stride, which one did I choose? Yeah, I did choose that one. That one I was like, you know what? No, I stand by it. I'm not sorry that I picked any of these. Princess Stride was interesting, even though it fell through at the end. And then this one, I think I'm gonna stand by it. This is a Kobe pick, as a certified fresh, good pick.
certified Kobe. So yeah, you picked Yuri on Ice, which had some fan service. Prince of Stride, We had some fan service Keijo, and
that one. Okay, I forgot that one was my fault.
Aokana.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, I mean, I just like poking fun at Jacoby, but they none of them were like terrible, at least, so that's good.
Yeah.
I might be the one choosing the terrible one, and that'll be bad.
We'll wait to say.
right,
can't wait till the first person who chooses a truly terrible anime.
Terrible
You thought
one.
Chihara Furu totally dropped. You did not like Chihara Furu.
Oh, that's true. I did not like it. No.
That's the only time.
What did I give that one? Did I give that one a?
I thought you gave it like a
I gave it
1 star.
a 1.5.
Or like a 1.5 or something.
I gave it a 1.5.
If you're listening to this anime, watch Chihara Furu. Don't listen to Jeff.
Disagree. There are better animes out there. Okay, so yeah, I guess we should go into the conclusion.
Let's do it.
And spoiler section. We're back from the spoiler section. We're gonna go right into the conclusion. We're gonna give it a rating. And yeah, Kobe, what did you rate this anime?
To me, this was a 4-star anime. This was one where I went into.
Whoa!
Yeah, I give it 4 stars.
So 4 stars. That means that you like it.
I like it, and I would watch again. Like if
you want to watch it again, and not also the 4 stars means that you would spend money on it. Would you spend money on it?
Oh,
because it's like, okay, so 3 stars.
Yeah, walk me through our rating system. I guess we should for everybody.
Here's my asinine rating system that I think is kind of doesn't make sense. Like after I made it up, I basically base it off of rewatchability and would I spend money on it. But anyways, a 1 star is you don't like it and you don't want to watch it again. 2 stars is you like it, but you still don't really want to watch it again. 3 stars is you like it and you want to watch it again, but you're not going to spend money on it. Like we'll watch it if like a friend will invite you to watch it with them or something like that. 4 stars is you like it, you're going to spend money on it, you're going to willingly watch it on your own. And then 5 stars is you love it, you want to rewatch it, you own it, and you'll watch it once a year. Or at least moments from it once a year, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like it's just the spending money part that's difficult to me. I would like to give it 4 stars because even though it's to me 4 stars is I recommend it. Like if someone asks me, is this a good anime? Should I watch this? I say yeah. Like I would say yes, watch this one. It's a fun little anime. It's not much to watch. So I guess judging by that rating system, maybe 3.5 stars is more accurate because would I spend money on it? Like to own it myself? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But
you still willingly watch it?
I would willingly watch it. Like if one of my friends was just like, "Have you seen this anime?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, it's good." Like I'll come over, I'll watch it with you because some parts are really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I would give it a 1.5 out of 5.
Oof.
And it's weird because like I honestly I think sometimes when we discuss these things, I give it more when I realize like some good things about it, and there are good things about it, but it's just not for me.
So after this discussion, before was it a 1 star?
It was a 1 star, honestly. I was just like,
so we talked it up to a 1.5 though. That's awesome.
Yeah, basically. I mean, yeah, like I recognized the good parts of it beforehand, but just like my overall emotions about it, like right off after, like maybe a day after finishing, I was just like, I just don't like it. I'm not gonna rewatch it. But I will recognize and try to be fair and say that. So 1.5 means there are things about it I don't like and things about it that I do like, and that's exactly how I feel about it. There are things about it that I don't like, things about it that I do like. Overall, though, I'm not gonna rewatch it. I wouldn't rewatch it, and I guess if you like sports animes with girls that are small and have obnoxious voices with colorful hair, this is a really good sports anime. In that case,
there's a nicer way to phrase that. If you like sports animes with young girls who are really optimistic and really peppy, then you'll like this anime.
That's true. I guess am I just cynical? I feel like I'm just a cynical.
Are you the
bastard.
cynical one in this relationship, Jeff?
I think so. I think I am the Simon to your Pamela. Is that the same? Is that how it goes?
The Simon to my Pamela?
The judges from American Idol?
Oh, Paula. Her name is Paula.
Oh yeah, Paula. There we go.
I was like Simon and Pamela. I
See,
can't.
I don't know.
I can't
know
wait for
nothing.
the day where you
My opinions
absolutely
are
love an
meaningless.
anime and I hate an anime. I cannot wait for that.
You know
day.
what? I can't wait either. I feel like it's always been you love it and I don't like it as much.
Yeah, or either we both love it. Those are the only two settings we have so far.
Although I will say, I think I like Haikyuu more than you do, at least. Is that fair to say? Or do you?
Well, it's fair to say, but it's not saying like if anyone tells me haiku, like I tell my girlfriend that's like, yeah, watch haiku, it's really good. I tell my friend to watch it, yeah, watch haiku, it's really good.
Okay. Yeah, no, you know what? I'm not gonna say that. I think we like it about the same.
No,
Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of it. We did it, Kobe. We did another one.
We did another one. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We have a website, nerdblaze.com, where we kind of post these podcasts and some other cool, fun stuff. We have a YouTube channel. It's Nerdblaze. You can find us on there. We also post this podcast along with some cool videos. Jeff has been doing some awesome video essays of just a few things.
They're okay. I did 2. I might do another one, but I don't know.
They're really cool. I watched them. I was impressed, and I think you'll be too. We're on Twitter we're at the Nerdblaze. Follow us. We sometimes tweet occasionally. Try to tweet every so often about some cool stuff. And if you can, follow us on subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, because I think that's important for podcasts. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Anything else?
Well, next week we're going to be reviewing Baby Steps, which is a tennis anime. So hope you're looking forward to that. Yeah, that's about it. Follow us, like us, subscribe, all that stuff.
Comment if you want.
Comments, rates. Anyways, that's the end of Anime Ricochet. We hope you liked it as much as we enjoyed discussing it. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
See ya.